national opportunities. So, you know, communication is very important, but when it comes to, you know, their level of independency, I guess you could say, you know, I have some volunteers that are very self-sufficient.
Sure.
They only come to me when they need something, or a resource, or a kit, or something like that. And then I have others that every month or every couple of months they want, well, ideas for programs, or need to come do a program, which is all within the realm of what the job is. So it really just depends on the individual that's volunteering.
Sure, but you know, what I wanted to hear is what you said, at least twice a month they get some communication from you. So, and I think that's so important that it may not be even a direct communication, it may be something, you know, a Facebook message or whatever.
Exactly.
You know, that they know that you remember that they're there, you know, and I think that's extremely important. How about barriers to getting volunteers to participate? Have you had to overcome some things with people to get them involved?
I have. I mean, in a customer service, you know, position, your clientele, they're going to range of all kinds, and I have found that a lot of the really efficient volunteers that I have are busy. They're not just involved in 4-H, they're involved in church, they're involved in civic groups, they're just involved. And so then it becomes, you know, maybe a time management, or, you know, just their schedule in general of trying to fit everything in. You know, good volunteers are involved.
Right.
And so that's been a challenge, because they have their hands in so many areas that it's hard to try to juggle all that. I think that then you have volunteers that maybe have commitment issues, or situations where they want to do it, but then sometimes they're not as good with following through. So then it's just guiding them through that process and helping them as they need it. And I think that's really the two big ones. It's just, you know, in this day and time, people are busy.
Right, absolutely.
Their kids are doing sports, their kids are doing so many things, and so it's just, a lot of it boils down to time.
That's exactly right. And so you mentioned their schedules and how they have so many things going on. How do the volunteer schedules, say, affect your schedule? You know, most volunteers are on a 8-to-5 job or something like that.
That's right.
So does that mean you're not?
It means that I have to be flexible.
Sure.
Extension agents, I think, are very adaptable and flexible. It comes down to, if they're working 8-to-5 jobs, then more than not, they're having evening meetings during the week, or they're having that weekend activity, and that means that if that's what they're doing, that's what I'm doing.
Sure.
And so we just try to coordinate our schedules and just be flexible in that, because it is about serving the community and the clients that are involved.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, going into that with your eyes open to that's the reality, then maybe it's not so shocking. But, you know, if you were to accept your job thinking, you know, I'll come in at 8 and I'll leave at 4 or 5, and every day, and anything else would be just terrible, then
it might be a little bit of a rude awakening. Sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, part of it is really just that flexibility, because and, you know, and our supervisors and our extension directors, they understand that and they know that. And so do they expect us to come to work at 8 o'clock, and then if we have that night meeting, stay in until 8 or 9 o'clock at night? I mean, it's all just about balancing the workload and making sure that you get done what needs to be done.
Sure, that's right. Very good. Well, I'm glad they are understanding about that, because it could
We're all flexible in extension. We know who our clientele are.
Sure, you have to be. Very good. So, with the volunteers that you recruit, is there any standard training, or is there some materials that you provide for them to, you know, to be a more effective volunteer? How do you handle that?
When we have individuals, or when I have individuals that come to me expressing an interest in volunteering, we have two types of volunteer levels, if you will. We have indirect volunteers and direct volunteers. And our direct volunteers are those that are placed more in a chaperone capacity, whether it's an overnight event or a field trip of some sort. And so those volunteers actually do go through an application and screening process. And then they do, once that is completed and approved, then we go through a training for them to just start them into the role that they're going to do. And it might be different. It might be a club leader. It might be a camp chaperone that's going to go to summer camp this summer. And so it just depends on what that volunteer's interest is. And then past that, it's just on the ground training as needed. You know, they come in and they express, well, how do I do this? Or then you host something when you have a couple of volunteers that have the same need. You know, it's just providing it as it's needed. Because if I tried to do it all at the beginning, it would be very overwhelming. So you just try to, you know, guide them into it very slowly.
Yeah, how about a volunteer club leader? You know, if you have a parent that said, I'd like to be a club leader, let's say the horse club or the dog club or whatever, you know, I see the flyers for those, so it's obviously something that's happening. And they say to you, you know, next month I'd like to have a meeting. What do you do at a meeting? You know, what do you do at a club meeting? Is there, do you just kind of walk them through, or you come try to be at the first, or?
What I do is definitely I try to attend a lot of the meetings in the beginning. Definitely you don't want to throw them to the fire and say, see you later. You definitely want to be very supportive and very engaged in what they need. And so it might mean in the beginning that you're attending every meeting, and then that's going to depend on the volunteer. Do they need 5 meetings? Do they need 2 meetings? Do they need the whole year to get them acclimated? I mean, again, it goes back to the 3 counties. You know, it's hard to be in 3 counties all the time for every 4-H activity, but you might try to not attend one, see how they do, and then attend the next couple, and just stay flexible to what their needs are, because I have found that you know, confidence in themselves plays a role into that. You know, if they doubt their capabilities, then they need you a little bit more than someone who might be more secure in their skills and what they're doing. And so it's all a learning curve, and we just go through it as the individual needs it.
Sure. I think the moral of the story is, though, that if somebody says, I'd like to help you do this, you can't just say, I wish you much luck, you know.
No, that's not good customer service.
And your volunteers will probably quit. You can add that to the list of why they quit.
Right, that's correct.
But as far as yourself in being a cooperative extension agent, what type of background or maybe coursework or training is provided in order to help you work with volunteers more effectively? I mean, is there something there that they say, you know, do we get together and talk about this is how you handle volunteers, or what happens?
We do have, with our 4-H and Youth Development Program, we do have state specialists in a wide variety of roles, and we do have one specific to volunteerism. And so that individual puts together any training materials or trainings that we need for hands-on as they're needed. As regional extension agents for 4-H and Youth Development, we meet several times a year, whether it's face-to-face or we do utilize Scopia for some of our meetings to cut back on travel. Then those things can be addressed at those meetings as they arise, as a need is expressed of what we are finding is what we're lacking. We also moved about 1.5 years ago. They provided us the opportunity to do online system training. We have a program called Everyone Ready, and it's a monthly seminar that hits a different topics for us to go in and use and see if we can then put it into our 4-H work.
Very good. So you have one state specialist in volunteerism, and where are they located?
They're located here on campus at Auburn University.
They're at Auburn. Okay. Very good. I need to get to know that person, don't I? Probably just across the. Who are they? What's the person?
Her name is Nancy Alexander.
Nancy Alexander. Okay, I'll look her up. So that sounds great. You know that she puts a lot of those things on for the 4-H agents, and you can join from the comfort of your own office. Some of them, anyway. That's good. And of course, you know that's what we're doing here.
That's right.
You know,
and budget cuts are a reality, and so we just really try to do the best we can.
Sure.
With extending our budget.
And so here's maybe a loaded question, but what causes volunteers to quit?
You know, I can only speak upon what I've experienced in my job. When I have volunteers that quit service with 4-H work, it's usually because they're either relocating and moving to a different area or a state, or if they're a parent, their child ages out of 4-H.